Every few days, you go out, you buy another mosquito spray, another coil, another chemical bottle. You come home, you spray it in every corner. The smell fills your house. Strong, sharp, uncomfortable. You step outside in the evening, and for a moment, it feels peaceful. But the next day, they're back again. Mosquitoes, flies, tiny insects, as if nothing ever happened. You spend again, you spray again, and the cycle never ends. Now, think about this. What if you could step outside, sit peacefully, and insects simply stay away? Not because you sprayed something, but because your yard itself does not welcome them. Today, I'm going to show you how to build that kind of yard. A yard where plants quietly protect you, day and night, without chemicals, without effort. Before we talk about plants, we need to understand something very important. Mosquitoes don't randomly bite you. They track you. They follow the carbon dioxide you breathe out. They sense the heat from your body. They detect chemicals from your skin and sweat. In simple words, they find you by smell. Now imagine this. If something blocks that smell, or confuses it, or completely overpowers it, then what happens? You become invisible to them. And this is exactly what certain plants do. They release tiny natural particles into the air, called essential oils. These oils spread around your yard and slowly create an invisible shield. A shield that confuses insects, irritates them, and pushes them away. Lemongrass. Let's start with one of the most powerful plants, lemongrass. When you touch it, or when air passes through it, it releases a fresh lemon-like smell. For humans, it feels clean and refreshing. But for mosquitoes, it's chaos. Lemongrass contains a natural compound called citronella. This compound interferes with the mosquito's ability to detect human scent. So even if you are sitting nearby, they cannot properly locate you. It's like their internal map stops working. They know something is there, but they don't know where. And when insects lose direction, they leave. If you plant lemongrass near your sitting area, near your doors, or along the edges of your yard, you create a zone where mosquitoes struggle to survive. Now, take a moment and really think about what we just understood. A simple plant standing quietly in your yard is actually interfering with one of the most advanced hunting systems in nature. That alone should change how you look at your space. Because now, you're not just planting for beauty, you're planting for protection. And once you understand this idea, everything else starts to make sense. Now, let's go deeper. Imagine walking into a room where the smell is so strong, so intense, that within seconds, you feel uncomfortable. You can't focus, you can't relax, you just want to step out. That's exactly what mint does to mosquitoes. But let's slow down and understand this properly. Mint releases a compound called menthol. Now, menthol doesn't just smell strong. It actually interacts with sensory receptors. For humans, it creates a cooling, refreshing feeling. But for insects, especially mosquitoes, it creates confusion. Their tiny sensory system, which is designed to detect very specific signals, suddenly gets flooded. Too many signals, too much intensity. And when that happens, they lose direction. They cannot track carbon dioxide properly. They cannot follow human scent accurately. And when they cannot track, they cannot bite. Now, here's something very important most people ignore. One mint plant sitting alone in a corner will not do much because the scent needs to spread in the air. So what you want to do is place mint in areas where air naturally moves, near windows, near doorways, along pathways where breeze passes. So every time air flows, it carries that menthol scent and spreads confusion across your yard. And slowly, over time, you will notice something interesting. Mosquito activity reduces, not suddenly, but gradually, because they start avoiding your space.
Now let's move to basil. And this is where things become even more interesting. Because basil doesn't just confuse insects, it changes their behavior. Think about that for a second. A plant changing the behavior of an insect. Basil produces a compound called eugenol. Now, eugenol has a very unique effect. Instead of just blocking scent, it makes the environment feel unsafe for mosquitoes. So even if a mosquito enters the area, it doesn't feel comfortable landing. It hesitates, it circles, and then it leaves. Now imagine this happening again and again and again. Eventually, mosquitoes start associating your yard with discomfort. And just like humans avoid uncomfortable places, they start avoiding your yard too. This is not instant. This is gradual conditioning. And that's why people who use plants properly see long-term results. Now, here's a powerful way to use basil. Instead of placing it randomly, place it near human activity zones, where you sit, where you eat, where you spend time in the evening, because that's where protection matters the most. So even if insects are somewhere in the yard, they don't come close to you. Now, let's slow things down a bit and talk about lavender, because lavender works in a very different way. When you smell lavender, you feel calm, relaxed, peaceful, but for mosquitoes, it's the opposite experience. Lavender releases compounds like linalool, and these compounds interfere with the insect's internal sensing system. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Mosquitoes don't just rely on one signal, they combine multiple signals: smell, heat, moisture, to identify a target. Lavender disrupts this process. It weakens their ability to combine these signals. So even if they detect something, they cannot confirm it. And when there is uncertainty, insects hesitate. And hesitation leads to withdrawal. So instead of aggressively approaching you, they stay away. Now imagine sitting in your yard, surrounded by a soft lavender fragrance. You feel relaxed, your environment feels peaceful, and at the same time, mosquitoes are struggling to function. That's the power of smart planting. Now let's talk about something very important: boundaries. Every secure system has boundaries. And in your yard, marigold plays that role. At first glance, marigold looks simple. Bright flowers, decorative, common. But underneath, it's working as a defense line. Marigold releases compounds that insects don't like, and some of these compounds even affect their nervous system. Now, here's the key idea. Insects don't like crossing areas where they feel threatened. So when you plant marigold around the edges of your yard, you're not just planting flowers. You're creating a psychological barrier, a zone that insects prefer to avoid. And over time, this reduces the number of insects entering your space, not completely stopping them, but significantly reducing the pressure. And that makes a huge difference. Now, let's go even deeper, because neem is not just a plant, it's an ecosystem controller. Neem produces a compound called azadirachtin, and this compound does something very powerful. It interferes with the life cycle of insects, not just their movement, not just their behavior, but their growth, their reproduction, their survival over time. So instead of just pushing insects away, neem reduces their population slowly. Now think about this. Most solutions people use are temporary. Sprays, coils, chemicals, they work for a few hours, maybe a day. Then everything comes back. But neem works differently. It works slowly, but deeply. And over time, you don't just repel insects, you reduce their presence completely. And that is what makes it a long-term solution. Now, pause for a moment and look at the bigger picture. Lemongrass is confusing them. Mint is overwhelming them. Basil is changing their behavior. Lavender is disrupting their sensing. Marigold is blocking their entry. Neem is reducing their population.
Do you see what's happening? You're not using one method. You're building a system. And systems are always stronger than single solutions.